I gave examples of multiple people in Hollywood, okay? We're talking about from Dave Chappelle to Kanye West to Cat Williams to other artists that are Christian that have said that there is some sort of a gang, full stop, that is operating in Hollywood. I do believe that the CIA is running Hollywood. I believe CIA is formerly a gang that then got their foot into our government. I have said this openly and been attacked for it, but it is the only thing that makes sense.
Candace Owens came out like a ball of fire last year. She was going hard. And you know what? Let me just not even, because I've covered this on this channel and it wasn't as much a ball of fire. But just the fact that she said, I don't like seeing genocide on any side, right? Oh my God, it was like this big hoopla. And that was like the most basic elementary thing. I have been supporting her movement. You know, she went and converted to Catholicism and all of that. And I'm not Catholic, but I was like, yo, this girl's getting stronger with God and everything. But then lately there's been a muddying of the waters. There's been a walking back. And the thing is, when you take on big topics, you can't just say, okay, now I'm done with it, or I'm going to just kind of make it a little easier for me to talk about. You better be ready.
Someone's get up there and they're like, hey, Dresden was kind of a Holocaust. It happened like on Ash Wednesday, the eve of Ash Wednesday. That's kind of wrong. Then you freak out. And someone like Tucker Carlson gets on Joe Rogan and he's like, hey, like, you know, dropping a bomb was a war crime, a nuclear bomb on praying Catholics in Nagasaki. You know, it's not a good thing to go, oh my gosh, get this man off the airwaves. I just cannot believe I am sitting through another person saying these things. How dare you say that murdering innocent civilians, women and children is wrong?
So, you know, she's right. She's right about the points that she's making. She's absolutely right. So what she's talking about is that, and I'll show you guys what's going on Twitter. We're here for the inconvenient truth. So now the rhetoric around World War II is starting to become a little bit more real. You're going to hear words like Dresden, right? So, but the thing is, like, we've been hearing this word for a year. A lot of people don't know that there was a serious bombing campaign of Germany. And I truly believe that a lot of people don't know that there was a serious bombing campaign of Germany after we basically won the war. And it was to demoralize these people. I mean, generations of Germans were killed with fire coming from the sky. That's basically what it was, right? So, I mean, it's considered a war crime. I mean, they've done Geneva Conventions about this. That's why it's just crazy, right? Nothing I learned in school. It's just after what happened on October 7th, I started to like look into things and I said, wow, I didn't notice. Okay. The thing is, when you uncover all of this stuff, are you really ready to have the conversation? Right. And I don't think that she is. I really, truly don't think that she is. I think that she's starting to back off. I'm not saying Candace needs to talk about this all the time, but there's just been a lot of weird stuff coming out of her mouth lately.
I said, and I'm hopeful that this is something that the rabbi will agree with, is that it is a fact that Jewish pedophiles escape and run and hide in Israel.
Okay, and I can't go any further with that because they will shut down this whole channel, right? We need a live soon. Don't worry, guys. I got a live coming for you guys. Just bear with me. Like in a week and a half, right? A week and a half, we are, definitely getting some things behind the scenes under control.
Your thought? They said, what are your thoughts on, sorry, I don't know if this is sensitive because a lot of people are saying it. They're saying Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, so Nick Fuentes, you know what's so crazy? I had never known the Nick Fuentes story. So he's actually one of those names that when you're coming up in politics, everyone kind of behind closed doors is like, Nick Fuentes, like, don't do anything with Nick Fuentes. He's this crazy white supremacist. And I didn't know anything about him. And I'm one of those people that until I actually interact with someone, I just will not adopt someone else's opinion because I think it's lame to do that. And so what happened was I had one correspondence with him back when Ye and him were hanging out, and back basically around the time that I wore the White Lives Matter shirt with Ye about something. And we had a private correspondence, and he kept it like, I really respected it. He never told the public about the public correspondence. It had to do with Ye, so it wasn't anything that was like a big deal.
Yeah.
But I just kind of respected what he did in that moment privately. So I was like, based on my experience with him, people trying to tell me that he was this awful monster didn't add up to what I thought he did that was actually a good thing to do. Then you fast forward, and the first time I actually heard his story was when he jumped on the live and started sharing. I think Lauren Chen was hosting the live about Christ is King being anti-Semitic, and he shared his backstory about what happened to him when he was 18 and being canceled because he stood up to Israel, essentially. And I felt
I would say that's a lie. Like, so on my channel, I have talked about Nick Fuentes a long time ago because, you know, we were doing the Jazz Jennings for so long that there's other topics that I have not talked about for a while on this channel. Now, this person's gotten a bunch of labels, a bunch of names and everything. You know, of course, he's the worst ever. And I couldn't understand. So I'll talk about my introduction to this person in a little bit. But at the same time, it's like, for me to know what I knew about him 2 years ago, I think it was about 2 years ago when I talked about him on this channel. And now today, or maybe it was like a year ago, like in January, right? So over a year and a half ago. And now she's like, well, I just figured out who he was a couple months ago. I heard his story. Come on. Like, all right, yeah.
It's my belief that what we have right now is a pedophile has assumed a ton of power in the world by pretending that any person that notices is an anti-Semite. My theory is that these people are not Jewish. I think that they have, you know, they publicly present themselves as being Jewish, but in reality, they worship and follow an entirely different faith, and it's satanic. And when these they say, oh, I'm Jewish. This is blood libel. This is blood libel. And it's so important for Jewish people to wake up and to understand that this is not blood libel. This is not anti-Semitism. These are demonic, monstrous people that are using Judaism to hide what their actions are.
So here's the thing. And so this is what I mean. And I'm going to get back to that whole Nick Fuentes backstory, because there's a backstory that needs to be told. If I'm going to talk about, you know, the rise and fall of Candace Owens on this topic, basically, I have to tell you the backstory. Now, the thing is, what she just did there, who told you that, right? Look, okay, this is something that's known. This is not a conspiracy theory, okay? The people who sometimes they get caught doing certain crimes, all right, they can go back to Israel and not get extradited over here. That's a fact, okay? Who has the right to return to Israel? Jewish people. I don't know why she's talking about, oh, they're hiding behind Judaism. A lot of people who are Jewish don't even practice Judaism. So the adding in is what's muddying the waters. No, they're Satanists. Okay, so now Satanists can go back to to Israel. You better lean into what you're saying and say it correctly, or else you're going to look crazy. And that's how she looks. She looks crazy to me. Because what is the point of this? Like, what I just don't understand. Like, why is she trying to muddy the waters? Because guess what? They're still going to call you anti-Semitic anyway, right? Like, the people who are going to be mad about what you're saying, they're going to call you names anyway. So I don't understand what the big deal is. Just talk. Because all of this, what she just did here, it makes her look like a clown, and it makes her look weak. Now, so this is Nick Fuentes. This is his Twitter. Okay, he has beef, not beef. He has nobody's beyond reproach. Okay, he has heat for everybody. Right? So do I, by the way. So I like a straight shooter. I do. When Black adolescents commit crime, liberals say we have to explore root causes, such as Gibbs. Oh my God, I can't wait to come back face on my face, like, so you guys can see me laughing, because I'm like, what is Gibbs mean? Oh my God. You know, so when a mass, shooting occurs, it's unthinkable to do anything other than ban all firearms immediately. He's right. Okay. He's right. And he's right about the Gibbs me that too. Like because this is something I've been saying I've said it on my channel. Like this whole thing about, well, why are they committing crimes? I don't care. Criminals are criminals. Get them off the streets. And then when we clean the streets, we can talk about, there's so many programs too, by the way. There's already so many programs, and the kids are getting shot along the way to go to the programs. But anyway, coming back to the point of what we're doing.
I do believe that the CIA is running Hollywood. I believe CIA is formerly a gang that then got their foot into our government. I have said this openly and been attacked for it, but it is the only thing that makes sense.
It's not the only thing that makes sense. So this is the stuff that they get mad at. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is why this person, it gets annoyed, okay? Because come on, Candace. Like, do you want me to, look, for everybody to feel comfortable, I'm sure that by the time I edit this, I have put on the screen that Jewish people run Hollywood. I've watched a documentary on it. They're good at it. Like, what do you want me to do? They're good at it, right? Right now, they've been doing this DEI thing. I cannot take it. I really can't. But what? To sit here and say that they are not good at influencing, you're not having a serious conversation. We can have a serious conversation. So it's okay. The CIA runs Hollywood? Come on. So people get tired of the same old, you know?
People followed you because they thought you're a serious critic of the Jews in Israel, and now you're steering them away from that and saying, no, it's not Jews. No, it's not the Talmudists. No, it's not the Kabbalists. No, it's not. No, it's actually the Frankists. Well, that's false. And we all see what's going on. You know, the implications of it being Jewish people is very troubling and very disturbing. And if you keep pushing on that, it gets you in a lot of trouble, a world of trouble. So now we're seeing the backtrack. Now this is the backtrack. She goes in really hard. Everybody supports her. And now she's walking it back. Well, you see, it's not really the Jews, it's the Frankists. Well, I'm not really anti-Semitic. Well, look, I'm going to host a debate between two Jewish people to showcase how not anti-Semitic I am. And it reinforces this idea that, you know, we need Jews to tell us we're not anti-Semitic. What if Americans want to have a conversation about our rights and our sovereignty without agents of Israel crying about the Holocaust there to debate in our stead, in our place? So, you know, we've heard it all before. We've seen it all before. But this is what happens. You know, she went out there. She didn't deal in the expert. She didn't deal in the guy. You know, she rips all my talking points. She doesn't deal me in. And then she makes all the rookie mistakes. She gets the facts wrong. She backtracks. She tries to appease this anti-Semitism label. Those are all like the most rookie mistakes ever. Yeah, if you haven't been red-pilled for all this time, you're not going to know that Frankism is a red herring or the Khazar Mafia. And you're not going to know necessarily not to backtrack. You're not going to know not to reinforce these things. You know, but she wanted the spotlight. She didn't want the liability. You know, she wanted to be she was coming for our thing, trying to be an edgelord. And she thought that if she gave a couple of acknowledgments to the Groypers that, you know, she could get Classics Groyps to retweet her, but she doesn't have to give me the acknowledgement that is really deserved. And she thought she could be edgy and, you know, she could get the spotlight as the far right flank of the GOP. But, you know, it's just not working. It's not working. You can't have it both ways. I wish it went differently. It could have been so good. It could have been so good, you know. We could have done a big collaboration. She could have been fine. And, you know, she didn't even have to acknowledge me publicly. I could have been giving her talking points or information behind the scenes. She was uninterested in that. You know, it could have been I think she could have been a really powerful voice. We could have built up a really great team, but it's just one thing after the other. And now I'm kind of out. So
you have to understand, we're talking about a person, because when you're hearing this without any type of backstory, if you will, or any type of, if you're coming into this, you're going to be like, Casey, what are you playing, right? Listen, what I'm going to say is that this is a person who started asking questions 10 years ago when they were 16. And at the age of 18, they were blacklisted. You know, they were taken out of their speech was curbed long before anybody else's was, I will say, at least I will say like the younger generation, right? You know, because obviously we've had other people like David Duke, people like that who have been, you know, ostracized. Pat Buchanan, even, for crying out loud. So, which is crazy because I never thought that I would say David Duke in a way that I just said it, where it's like, dag, you guys really know how to smear people just so that I can't just even hear what they have to say. Don't want to go too far. But these are conversations we need to have. So, and what he's saying is, you know, he's been through it, and he did really pull down a lot of vines for other people to be able to talk about it. The first time I heard this name was 2 to 3 years ago, and they told me he was taken off of YouTube because he didn't like immigration. But then when I heard conservatives calling him a white supremacist, I said, wait a minute. Why are they calling him that? Because we don't use that word, because we're conservatives and we know what the left has done to us with that word. So we don't use that word, but they left it especially for him. right? And so what he's saying, and maybe you don't like his style, and maybe he doesn't want, you don't want to hear everything he has to say. A lot of stuff becomes overwhelming. Maybe you just use your platform, Candace, since you wanted to talk so much about what was going on in Israel. Why don't you just stay stuck on the Israel lobby? When you start talking about drinking blood and doing all this, you make a mockery out of the situation. You don't need to give everybody every little thing that you've read. Be organized and understand what you're doing. Make it where people can understand it. All of this, some of the stuff that she brought up, I'm just like, well, why is she talking about this? This is not going to help us in anything. Or even just say, hey, some of the systems that are put in place, and like I've said it before, the trans ideology comes from a Lurianic Kabbalah, which is another form of rabbinical Judaism, right? I have articles that prove that. That doesn't mean that now, we're going to have a problem with Jewish people. I need to now go back and talk about every story that I've heard about it. No, I'm just telling you where it comes from. Hey, Christians, understand that this is not your doctrine, right? Because, right, her show is based on she has like a Christian theme, I guess, going with it, and everything. So then say, hey, the systems that are put in place, you're not supposed to be a part of it anyway, because we got to be held accountable for what we get involved in, right? So, okay, I can understand maybe saying a little something like that. But you want to talk about Israel, stay on the Israel lobby. There's enough to cover there. He goes on further to say in the video, she could have had John Mearsheimer on for her debate, stuff like that. But instead, she does this thing where now she's telling stories and they sound like they're coming out of, out of the Grimm's fairy tales, right? It's too much for people to take in 2024. So it muddies the water. And so you have somebody who's put their life on the line, literally, to talk about something. And if we're going to act like, by the way, that it's not it's not an issue to talk about this subject, then you don't even, you just like lying. Like
Candace Owens, what did I do? Well, I upset the Zionist Federation. And they made a call for my visa to be banned on the basis that they don't like me. And so I was thinking that's going to be a tough sell to the public. Like, how are you going to explain to Australia? Like, we've got all of these people coming in, and their character's fine, but Candace Owens, who has not been arrested and does not have any pending charges against her, and who has not been in trouble overseas, and who has given, something like 500 speeches throughout her entire career, has never caused a riot or anything, she can't come in. And that, my friends, is what the media is for. Like, the media is here to sell you the impossible, to tell you the virus is invisible and you've got no symptoms and you should stay home and let your mom die alone. Like that, the media has a tough job. They got to sell that to someone.
It's a hard conversation. And the backtrack, maybe, I'm not in your personal life and it is necessary. You should have stayed on a topic that then you felt more comfortable with. I'm not saying that it's right. It literally just banned this woman from Australia. Tell me that we're not having a hard conversation. Okay, acknowledge it. I acknowledge it, but don't, you're either in or you're out. I don't know how else to say it. I don't, because I feel like this was all a grift, and I hate that I come back to that feeling. I do. Whatever she has going on, listen, I pray for her safety, for her family's safety, because these are the kind of prayers you have to have. I mean, they ban you from a whole continent, right? So, hey, I don't think that I'm a little silly here for praying for these kind of safeties, right? But at the same time, why don't we just, leave it to just figure it out. I don't know what else to say, but people are noticing that she's gotten very weird, for lack of a better term. I don't know. You guys drop a comment below. Let me know. Maybe I'm just being hard on her. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.